right, so I've been busy just doing some work, and I'm going to kind of go over some of this stuff with you. I got some updates on a bunch of different saws and stuff that I've been doing. Uh, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's hard to do a video or do a series of videos on one saw or whatever whenever you're working on a bunch of different stuff, different projects or whatever. So, you know what I mean? I don't make my videos for YouTube, so it's, like goes through every step of the process for one saw. I just kind of give you updates as we go. So I don't know. I mean, you might expect some, I don't know. So if you expect to see like a step-by-step process video after video on one particular build, it just doesn't work like that, because this is kind of like, I don't know, my hobby, and I bounce around and stuff. And I guess you could say I have kind of an attention deficit or disorder or something like that. So it's hard for me to stay focused on one thing for very long. So I have to bounce from one thing to another. It's pretty bad too. So it's hard for me to stay focused for more than an hour or two on any one saw. So I have to bounce from one to the other to keep interested, But let me kind of go through the room here and give you a quick rundown of what's going on, and then you'll have an idea. You know what I mean? Then you can kind of get an idea of where we're at. All right, boy, she's a train wreck. Well, I've done a bunch of work here recently. So where should we start? Well, right here, the Dolmar. I started it. I got the combustion chamber work done. I found another muffler, but it's smashed up. I think I'm going to do a typical muffler mod. And I didn't get into doing the finish of the machine work because I found my bits are just too dull for the lathe. So I'm going to order some more. I just haven't sat down and got that order in, you know what I mean? That's all that's waiting on, is I'm going to order the stuff for the lathe, or new cutting bits and stuff, but we can get into it. And this is the 395 sitting here. Yeah, we haven't even started building that one yet. It's just still sitting there in stock form waiting. But I want to compare it to this Homelight build, I think. So the stock 395 versus the Homelight, and see how the Homelight compares to a stock 395, you know what I mean? What else? We can just go across the bench. The Echo 590. Back into the same old story of it won't start, just like before. I am 99% certain right now that it is coil or spark related. The fuel system's good. I got a brand new carburetor on it. It's pumping fuel. Great compression. So, you take spark, fuel, and compression. And since I know my fuel is good, and I know my compression is good, it has to be spark related. So I think we're going to work at converting this guy completely away from the Echo ignition system and modify it for something else. I'm about 90% certain I know what I'm going to do. I just got to sit down and do it. You know what I mean? The 036, she broke on us. I looked at the carb. I just pulled the top of the carb off, and looked at the screen, the inlet screen, just to make sure it wasn't clogged up, because it'll cause kind of the same issues I was having. And it was fine. And I do have spark, but the spark don't look, I don't know. I'm suspicious the spark's a little weak, and that was causing our issues. And the problem got worse the longer it ran. So I think I'm just going to order a coil for it and see what happens. This 50 here, it's sitting here because I'm going to tear back into it. This is the one with the Partner 5000 top M. She gets hot, really hot. In fact, I cannot open that thing up and let it scream, because it just gets too hot too fast. And what I did is, when I built it, it's got a very large combustion or squish band. So the squish band is very large on it, and it's very tight. If I remember correctly, it's sitting around 16 to 18 thousandths. And I think I'm just not, I don't know, I think it's too tight and it's not keeping the saw cool. So what I'm going to do is probably open it up to like 25, maybe 28 thousandths. So I'll just pull the top end off, take a little bit out of the combustion chamber until I hit that point, and then put her back together. That's the plan with that one. And I'm hoping that helps with keeping it cool. You know what I mean? This here is one of those cheap Polands. The guy at work asked me to fix it. It'd start it and it would just bog, you know, like it was lean. So I just dumped his fuel, put my fuel in it, and now she's running. Either he had way too much oil in the mix, or his fuel is shot, or he got really bad oil or something, you know what I mean? But once I dumped his fuel and put mine in it, that took a good 30 seconds to clean up, but maybe a minute. But after, you know, the longer I ran it, the better it ran. So I think he just having some fuel issues. This one here, this is that 372 we converted to methanol, and she's lean on us. I have not tore back into this to get more fuel out of it, and the reason is sitting on the other shelf. Let me take you over there. So this is the Partner 5000 that I plan on converting to alcohol. The thing is, this is running a 660 carburetor, and the 372 is actually running a 460 carburetor. So I feel like I should take the 660 carburetor off of this, put the 460 carb on this from that 372, because then I think we'll be better matched up, if you know what I mean, for this saw. The 660 carb seems to be too big. I have to keep the idle really, really high in order to get it to idle. And I think it's a velocity issue through the carburetor. So your air has to move through the carburetor at fast enough to like atomize the fuel and so forth. And if it's moving too slow, it'll just kind of pile up in the crankcase. And I think that's what I have going on with that 660 carb. And that's why I'm thinking maybe if I take it to the 460 carb, you know, that's converted to methanol, she might run better. She might idle better and everything. Might be actually be able to get it to idle correctly. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to pull that 660 carb off, take that 460 carb off that 372, move it to this one, and then possibly take this 660 carb over to that 372. I think that's the way we're going to go with that. So that's why you haven't seen any more updates on that 372. It's because I'm thinking I'm going to take that carb off and move it to this saw, and then move this carb over to that one. So we'll be bouncing back and forth between these two, converting them to alcohol. The 61's just sitting here. I fixed it. It's up and running. We ran into issues the last time we ran it. The inlet screen for the carburetor was completely plugged shut. It was a brand new carburetor. It's a brand new fuel tank and everything. So I'm hoping that it was just, material from the manufacturing process that got in there. But I don't know. I feel like it shouldn't have got past the fuel filter. So I took that original, I'm still running that original fuel filter that came with it. I pulled that out and I put a different one in. It's one of those ProLine ones that they make for like the Echos. You get like a 6-pack for $20. They're like cottonish. But that's what I put on there. And, once I clean that carburetor up and everything, she's running again. I am going to have to get rid of that roller nose bar though. The width, I've said about this before in another video, the width up here at this roller nose is too wide. The tooth doesn't cut the kerf wide enough. And the roller nose tip right here, she snags in the wood. So this is C83 chain, and I like that it's a narrower kerf, but it does not like roller nose bars. So we'll probably pull that roller nose off and go with a different one, unless I can find a different chain that'll work with that bar. Maybe a steel chain would work with it, but I don't think I have one with the right set of number of drivers or whatever. You know what I mean? Now, as far as the square grinding is concerned, I want to make a change to the grind. I feel like it's got just a little too much self-feed. And that's this right here. I need to change this adjustment right here. It's this guy here. If you just turn that a little bit, and it'll affect that self-feed. But I've made some cuts on 2 different saws, and both of them are having kind of the same issue. Just a whole lot of self-feed. It's good and it's bad. It feels awesome in the wood, but it is a little too much. It's a little excessive. So I think I'm going to dial it back just a tiny bit, resharpen, you know what I mean? But that's where the square grind is. I'm getting really close to getting it dialed in the way I want it though. I think I got just a touch too much self-feed. Now, the majority of work I've been doing recently, though, is between the four-wheeler and this lawnmower. My boy's four-wheeler. You know, it's that time of year. He really wanted it running. It's parked up in the driveway there. You can't see it, but I got it running great, too. It's been years since it really got ran, at least 5 years. I mean, we got it running a couple of times, and then it would sit and, you know, but it's finally at it, you know, like Cody's at an age now that he's actually running it like he needs to, or like it needs to be. So it should stay running for a while. This mower, though, I had 2 flat tires in the rear. They're just getting dry rotted. They had like 10 tire plugs in each wheel trying to chase the dry rot. So I just put tubes in it. The tread's fine. I could have bought new tires, but I just bought tubes and threw in it. And I bet you I spent an hour or 2 doing that, because it wasn't wanting to come off that bead. I was struggling. I got her though. It was a struggle to get off that bead. I've changed a lot of tires out before, and those were like glued on there. So yeah, I gotta fix this guy. The plastic broke down here. Gotta fix that yet. And I was thinking about sharpening the blade, but I hit so many rocks and stuff and sticks. I don't know. I feel like it's pointless. The battery was dead when I tried to start it today. Looks like it's going to be fine. Charge seems to be working fine. Or looking fine. But, I mean, about a month or so ago, I started it up to move it. And it started fine. And then today, it was completely dead. I think one of the kids got on and turned the key on, and it killed it. I also did a little hack here. The seat, I don't know, when I'm riding it, there's springs in there. And, you know, I'm a big guy, so I end up flattening those springs out, and it tilts the seat back more than what I prefer. It's kind of uncomfortable. So I just cut some pipe and just cut a piece of pipe and dropped in there. That way, when I sit down, she should be sturdy and upright. You know what I mean? Hopefully that's better. I just added like an acre or so of grass to cut, so I wanted to make it a little more a little more comfortable. We're probably going to be replacing this in the next couple of years. We'll see though. I'm going to wait until she completely poops out before I replace it. Now I still have the Wild Thing sitting here, but I keep forgetting to take it out and give it a test run. You know, I put it on a reed intake, converted it to alcohol. It's just sitting here. I have completely forgot to take it out and give it a test cut. I just set up a test log, so it's been a while since I've had a test log set up, and I literally just finished that right before dark. So we'll actually be able to do that and see if it actually runs. Well, it runs, but we'll see if it runs any good. I have ported it, got it converted to reeds. I still got it converted to 325 chain, and I still got to set up an expansion chamber for it. So it's still got a bit to go. So should be testing on that here soon. And that Homelite VI 130 that, you know, the last time we ran it, it's got a intermittent spark. I haven't got into it yet and figured it out yet. I haven't even looked at it. It's just sitting here. So still got those 2 projects to do. Now, the only other thing I wanted to talk about was my chain. I don't know, it's kind of funny. I'm wanting to run this, well, now that I got this square grinder, I'm wanting to run more square chain. I found hand filing square chain, you can get it to perform just as good as what I can get off this grinder. That's no problem. It's time consuming. It takes time. Just like hand filing any chain, it takes time. And the more you do the square hand filing, the faster you get at it. In fact, I'm at a point now that I actually prefer to square hand file than I do round. I find it actually to be, it's faster in the wood. At least it seems faster in the wood. And I don't know. It's like, it might take a little longer to square hand file. I mean, for starters, you take it off the bar to do it. So it might take a little longer, but I don't know. It's like a trade-off, you know? So now that I got the grinder, I'm wanting to run the square more often, but for racing, I have to run round. It's kind of weird, huh? So yeah, I mean, I'm just being careful what stuff I set up with the square chain. I got to make sure, I'm thinking what I'm going to do is just get my round chains all set up for the races and get them good to go. I mean, they're sitting here pretty much, I think I'm like 80% done with them. I still got to do the rakers and touch them up. I think I'm going to touch them up one more time. The grind, I just kind of ground through them really fast. So I just want to go through them one more time real lightly and, you know, just make sure they're 100%. Then get the rakers settled on all of them. And then I'm going to throw them to the side and they will be for the races. And, you know, that's the only time those chains will come off the wall or whatever, or get rammed. And I'm setting pretty much everything up with a 72 driver setup, or most of it, so that, you know, I can just put whatever chain on whatever saw. They'll all be set up the same. But I mean, you got your 325 chains. Those saws will probably all run their own bar and chain setup. But everything that runs 3/8, I think I'm just going to run 72 driver on everything. That way, I mean, I could take 4 chains and run 10 saws on 4 chains. You know what I mean? I don't need to take 10 bars, 10 chains, all that stuff. I can only take four bar and chain setups and swap them out, you know. That's kind of the plan there. But then I do have stuff that runs square. So what's going to be running square? The 361 clone, that's a square chain saw. What else? The cheap saws. I think the cheap saws are allowed to run square chains. And we're doing an 880 or 3120 builds this year. I haven't bought one of those yet. So, and with the stuff that's going on, I don't know if I'll be able to. I might buy an 880 though. Everybody's been going after the 3120s and I don't know. I might go with an 880 just to be different. You know what I mean? So we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. I'm leaning more towards doing the 880 clone now that everybody's doing the 3120s. There's that low battery light. Just to be different. You know what I mean? We'll see how she goes though. But yeah, I mean, a couple of race saws are going to be set up for square too. And you're probably going to see me running square a lot more, even on my firewood work, just because, you know, I can grind it now. And I can tell you the round grinder is still faster than square. So grinding in round is still faster. The square is just a little more tedious. You know what I mean? Just to make sure all your angles are just right. Where the round, it's easier. Because the square, you got this thing here to adjust, this to adjust, this to adjust, this to adjust, this to adjust. There's like 5 or 6 things to adjust. And with the round, I mean, it's pretty much set it and go. You know what I mean? You'd think it'd be the same thing with the square, but as the tooth gets shorter, you got to kind of change things to follow it, you know, as the tooth gets shorter because of the way it's set up. So it is a little more tedious on square. I'll be going over that here more in the future. Now, the only other thing to talk about is, I mean, the tractor, which, can you see it? Yeah, you can kind of see it sitting out there, right there. There's the tractor. We're going to be pulling it into the shop. So today, Well, the last like 2 or 3 weeks, I've been focusing on doing a lot of the stuff that I've been wanting to get done with the tractor, stuff that's been kind of piling up over the winter. I had a telephone pole I wanted to move. You know, there's things like that. So I got all that stuff done because we're going to tear the tractor apart here, and it's going to be down for a little while. So I wanted to make sure I was kind of caught up on some of that stuff before we tore the tractor down. I got to pull the whole front bucket off of it. We're going to pull it in here, and then we're going to split it in half and work on it. We're going to work on the transmission and the clutch. So, you know, I've been wanting to make sure I got caught up on some of that stuff. And hopefully we start that tomorrow, actually. Muffler's going to come up and help. And I think he's coming up tomorrow to help. We'll see. I got to text him and make sure, you know, that's still going to go on. But if he's coming, then we'll probably get that front bucket off of it, and we might get her split tomorrow. So once she's split, then I got to start going through the parts and pieces and figure out what's broken, what I got to get, and all that stuff. I was thinking I could order a whole new clutch assembly beforehand, but there's a good chance that I don't need to. My research is telling me that the throwout bearing went out, and the clutch itself might be, you know, just fine. There's evidence that the tractor has been tore apart before at the clutch, so I'm suspicious that somebody already replaced the clutch, and it's just they might have let the throwout bearing go, and the throwout bearing went out on it. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna wait until the tractor's tore apart to start ordering parts. I mean, why spend $600, $700 on parts if I don't need them? You know what I mean? We'll tear it apart first. It's just gonna take longer, you know, because I gotta wait for parts. But anyway, I think that's about it. Bunch of saws kind of updated here. Some builds, you know. I still got that Neotech. I'm going to pull the top end off and make a slight tweak to it. I actually want to do that real soon. I just haven't got into it. What else? Got that the 046 to do. Got an 026 now, but I need a bunch of stuff for that. I need a whole top end, bearings, everything. It needs. I mean, well, I'm probably gonna have to replace the crank because I'm pretty certain the big end bearing on the connecting rod is shot. Sounds like there's a lot of slop in there. So probably going to replace all of it. So yeah, an endless supply of work to do here in the shop. You know what I mean? That's just those projects. You know what I mean? There's, I don't know if you look at that over there. There's a John Surratt on the bottom shelf I'm going to build. Hub lid on the bottom I'm going to build. There's something in the corner. Oh, that's my 350. That's the Warner 350 I'm building. So just that bottom row has 3 of them I'm going to build, and 2 I'm going to tweak. The next row up has 1 that I'm going to tweak. The next row up has 2 that I'm going to tweak. The next row up has 2 that I'm going to build from scratch. And the top shelf is probably just going to stay like that for a long time, except that 925 and that 410. There's 2 home lights up there. Probably going to tear into them again. And then that John Cutter, whenever I get the square figured out, I'm going to put a new square grind on that John Cutter. But, I mean, that's just that stuff. And then I got these shelves over here. There's 2 shelves here. Behind that door is 1, and here's another one. There's probably 20 or 30 saws sitting there that I can work on. So, yeah, I got an endless supply of work to do here. You know what I mean? That's not included the 100 or whatever that I threw away. I think a lot of people freak out when I say, hey, I threw away another 40 saws. It's just, I don't know. It gets overwhelming. I could put the time into selling them, but when the thing's only worth $20 and it's going to cost you $30 to ship it, is it worth it? I don't know. To me, it's not worth the hassle of that $20 bill to put the time into getting it all boxed up, making sure the fluids are drained and nothing's leaking everywhere and all that stuff to ship it. You know what I mean? I could part them out. I could strip it for parts and sell them, and that'd just be a whole new level of work for me to do. So a lot of that stuff just went to the trash. I kept what I wanted to keep and I threw the rest out. You know what I mean? So that's the way we do it here. We just do what we do. But anyway, hey, enough jabbering here. We'll catch you in the next one. Later.